What's up guys, Limo here, welcome back to another sports video. Today we're going to be doing, we're going to be taking a look at the round 21 NFL match, Essendon vs St Kilda. Essendon are taking on St Kilda at Etihad Stadium on this Friday night. Essendon recently lost to Hawthorn by 4 points after Hawthorn won the centre clearance with 10 seconds remaining. Kyle Hooker kicked a big goal that put us within 4 points. Too little too late, and the Hawks won by 4 points. Essendon now have a tough road ahead if they win at the finals. They'll be ruining their 2-6 start to the season, including losing to Carlton. If they hadn't lost to Carlton, maybe Essendon would be more likely to make the finals. They have St Kilda, Richmond and Port, so they have arguably the toughest last 2 games of any team. Port coming off a controversial loss to Adelaide, and they'll be looking to fight back with Paddy Ryder, with Robbie Gray. It's a dangerous midfield. Richmond, Essendon have almost no chance of beating Richmond. The only thing that they have going for them is that two of the past 3 losses in an AFL game have been by under 3 goals. But obviously they did lose by 70 points in round 11 this year. So let's go to the topic at hand. St Kilda. St Kilda are widely tipped to make the finals the first time since 2011. Everyone thought they would, but look, with Joey Montagna retiring, with Nick Rewalt retiring, they lost some of their forward stock, and they also lost a bit of midfield talent. But nobody expected them to finish as low as they probably will. 2 years or so of finishing roughly in the top 8, in the top 10 for St Kilda, and then slipping down to 14th or 15th, and then losing to Bulldogs last week. Nobody would have expected that. So Essendon have won 8 of the past 11, starting from round 9 against Geelong, then against Giants. They lost to Richmond, then beat Brisbane. They even beat West Coast at home. So every interstate match they've played so far this year, they've won, and they're the first team since 2013 to beat every interstate team, because it's a Victorian game, in case you didn't realise. So in today's video, I'm looking at my predicted team lineups for Essendon. I don't really know St Kilda's team very well. Only else really going through the things that could shape the game, including the stats. I'm looking for the fancy pig on the Droid phone. So who I think you guys should pick if you want to pick someone from Essendon St Kilda for this round. Who you should pick for your fancy team. I'm picking the margin and the winner. So let's get started. So looking at the recent games, St Kilda, they had a good patch, winning 3 or 4 matches, but then have since dwindled and have not won a match since they came back against Gold Coast, I believe. Essendon, on the other hand, won 8 of their past 11, including wins. If we just check the Droid phone, okay. Wins 8 of the past 11 against Sydney at home, Fremantle at home, Gold Coast away, losing to Collingwood, North Melbourne at home, West Coast at Optus Stadium, Brisbane at Brisbane at Gabba, a loss to Richmond, a win in Canberra against the Giants, and then a win at home against the Cats in the Country Festival by 34 points. So it arguably the informed team of the competition, apart from the Giants, and if not for a few injuries to Danaher and Gleeson in the preseason, Essendon would have almost certainly wrapped up the game against Hawthorn. They lost Kernan again in round 18 to Fremantle. We lost Danaher back in round 7 to Ostitis Pubis. But look, we should have no trouble putting St Kilda away, considering that they are 15th on the ladder currently. So let's look at what could shape this match. So, Essendon last year they averaged 95 points per game, but conceded an average of 92 points per game. So they needed to fix their defense up, especially that was made incredibly obvious in the elimination final loss to the Sydney Swans. Still tortures me. Let's just think about it. It tortures me. That's just 65-point loss at the in Sydney. So Essendon in the trade period last year got Jake Stringer from the Bulldogs, Adam Sard from the Gold Coast Suns, and Devon Smith from the GWS Giants. So they've had those three recruits done really well. Stringer took a bit of time to mix with the group, but proved that he was definitely one of our best 22. Smith, well, I think he's a good chance to win our best and fairest. He's the top tackler in the competition, and is arguably one of the most important players we have in the midfield. So the midfield and the defence battle will be key to this match. St Kilda have a former Essendon player called Jake Carlisle, and Jake Carlisle is one of the best intercept markers in the Victorian team. Let's forget Jeremy McGovern for a second. So, what does this mean for Essendon? Well, they can't keep bombing it long because Carlisle will pick it off. They need to use their small forwards that can take a mark easily instead of just bombing it long and kicking on the run like we did a lot last year and at the start of this year, which obviously did not work out. The next thing we want to focus on is the pressure on the coach. Well, on the coaches. John Worsfold, well, the pressure cooker is probably off him mostly. For the past few weeks, he's been really good at coaching. I'd think that if there wasn't any pressure on him, it'll be because of the 2-6 start this year, not the loss to Hawthorn, which is controversial to say the least. Pressure cooker for Alan Richardson, the St Kilda coach, sky high. After consecutive near misses to the finals in 2016 and 2017, his team has gone from what everyone thought would be top 8 contender to a bottom 14. What this means for Alan Richardson is he's going to have to put in a good few performances in St Kilda's last 3 games if he is any certainty to not be sacked at the end of the year. Alan Richardson has done admirably well coaching St Kilda ever since he took the reins in 2014 after coaching Port Adelaide for 1 game. I think that was a draw. I'm not sure. Actually it was lost, yeah. So, but St Kilda fans are demanding a finals appearance. It's been 7 years since the last finals appearance. They're going to have to wait another year. What will happen in that time? Will we see a change in the coach and coaches? Will we see a mass overhaul of the players in the trade period at the end of this year? Will we see them going for the draft? Will we see them going for the trade like Essendon did last year? Well, we don't know. All we do know is that Alan Richardson will be very nervous about keeping his job over the next few weeks as the last 3 rounds of the home and away season come to a close. So, looking at the fantasy pig now, Essendon's Devon Smith, definitely one of the top players for Essendon in terms of fantasy. Looking at last week's match against Hawthorn, the top players from Essendon in terms of fantasy points were Zach Merritt in his 100th game, got 134 fantasy points from 41 touches, 20 kicks, 21 handballs, 5 marks, 4 tackles, and 1 goal assist. Next to Travis Collier, he's been in and out of the side this season, but he's got 105. Kale Hooker with 2 clutch goals, 108 for fantasy points. So Devon Smith, 97. So if you're going to pick, let's look at the top 5. Kale Hooker doesn't usually average that high. I think he usually averages about 70. So I want to pick Kale Hooker. He's had a very good week, very good game against Hawthorn. Just because one good week doesn't mean put him in your team. You need to look at the past performances. Obviously, if Kale Hooker gets 200 fantasy points, you'll be kicking yourself for not picking him. I have him in my team because I love him. He's my favorite player. But you don't want to do an impulse buy. He's expensive enough as it is already. Don't buy Hooker. I'd consider getting Zach Merritt, or if you haven't already. I think 60% of fantasy coaches in Classic started with Zach Merritt, and he's just been, after being tagged a few weeks, he's been, well, what we expected of him this year, and how good he was last year. I want to be Travis Collier. He won't even be in the team, and he has no certainty to back up Essendon points again. Devon Smith, get him in your team now. Look at the tackle count. He had 8 tackles. He averages about 10. He averages I think he averages about 25 disposals. Last week he got 22. He's a star player, and St Kilda don't really like tagging players, which means that Devon Smith and Dustin Heppel and Zach Merritt will probably get a free reign. Dustin Heppel is another player you might want on your team. He averages about 95 points a game. He got 91 last week with 25 touches, 6 tackles, and 5 marks, so on. If you want a strong marker in your team, Kale Hooker, 13 marks last game, including 3 contested, which is actually the highest of any player in that team in the game. If you're looking for a ruckman, get Beltram's in your team. Obviously, you'd love to have Noiba, he's injured. You'd love to have you'd love to have sorry, I forgot the name. You love to have the Melbourne ruckman like Max Gawn, but not everyone can afford him. He's about 700k. So Beltram is good. Is a relatively cheap ruckman. Averages about 35 hit-outs a game, I think. He got 40 in last game, so very, very good performance, along with 87 fantasy points. So ruckman-wise, Belchambers is a very good player. Looking at St Kilda's most recent game against the Bulldogs, well, let's say that for St Kilda the better, because they did absolutely trash. Not gonna lie. They led by 28 points in the start of the second quarter, and then it was all Western Bulldogs when they got to, I think, 40-point lead, and then St Kilda pegged it back to 35. So, looking at the stats for fantasy, you can see that looking at the Saints players only, Seb Ross, 160 points. I think that's career high. Get him in your team. He's a very good player for St Kilda, and he's one of the best players in the competition. Especially for St Kilda. He's probably St Kilda's most important player. A midfielder that has potential to kick goals. He kicks 3 goals, 40 touches. It's odd that you'd have a player get 3 Brownlow votes in a thrashing like that, but he is almost a certainty to get at least 2 Brownlow votes for that match, because 40 touches, 3 goals, 22 kicks, 9 marks, 3 tackles, 10 contested possessions, 5 inside 50s, 3 clearances. You want him in your team. Billings, well, 1 goal, 3 says that's the story of his career. Got 27 touches, so he's like a midfielder that plays 40. No, he was drafted as a forward, I believe. But 120 points. Won't get that next week. Won't even get any. I don't think he'll get 100 next week. Jack Billings. If you want to think of a player, get Billings in your team, but don't expect him to score high. So, in fact, if I actually look at that, that's interesting. I think for St Kilda's fantasy, okay, no, I misread. Okay. So, next thing we want to focus on, if I get my script up. So, the 6 points. So, Essendon dominated all over the ground when these teams last played in 2017 last year. Joe Danaher got 2 Mark of the Year contenders, including the Mark of the Year for last year. Kicked 4 goals, and there were 442 disposals, 276, 138 marks is 90, 33 scoring shots to 22, and 61 to 44 inside 50s. In fact, if Essendon hadn't shot a goal, if that shot a goal hadn't been absolutely crap, it probably would have been a 100-point mauling. It was a 61-point mauling. Abzaraka started with 32 touches and 2 goals, including the one that bounced at the right angles. So, I think it was the worst clearance side this year, averaging just 33 clearances a game. Bombers are mid-table in this area, equal 9th with an average of 37.1. Now, what is a clearance? Well, if you're in the ruck, it's the first effective disposal from a ruck contest, basically. You have stoppage clearances and centre clearances. Fairly self-explanatory. Both teams hate the third quarters. Essendon 15th for points scored versus points against in third quarters. Well, Saints are the worst team in the AFL for third terms. In Etihad Stadium, Essendon have won 13 games to 10 against St Kilda, but and Saints have won 2 of their 10 games at this venue, plus a draw against the Giants. Adam Sard has had a really good impact for Bombers in his first season at the club, which has been reflected in the Chic AFL player ratings. Sard started the season ranked at number 130, but has risen to number 95. The big week, St Kilda, Jake Carlisle. The former Bomber comes up against his old side again, and is one of the Saints' leading performers. He will need a big effort if St Kilda is to get over the line. For Essendon, it would definitely be the leadership group for Essendon as well as John Walsall. Now, you can't blame Essendon for what you can, but you can't blame them too much for losing a thrilling match against Hawthorn. But their leadership group will come under fire if they miss finals, and I don't think that that Essendon can make finals, and also I think that there'll be a lot of questions asked by not only the supporters but also the players themselves on how they let those horribly stupid decisions come across, including playing Hooker up at full forward at the very start of the year instead of playing him mostly in defence, which has been his forte, including winning the 2015 All-Australian jumper and Crichton medalist for being a defender. So my predicted team lineup for Essendon. What I'm thinking is that Essendon will switch things up a bit, but their teams have been relatively consistent this year. McNeese, he had 13 touches. I think Ben McNeese will go. Hooker, who'll start back at halfback. Goddard will start in fullback. I think Hurley will go back to the halfback flank. Same with Sard, and McKenna will be our centre halfback. What I'm thinking is, for the midfield, McGrath, Merritt, Zaharakis. Zaharakis is built more as like a rover rather than as a midfielder, an out midfielder. So I think we're bringing Heppel back into the midfield, and Zaharakis will go into the roving position, with David Myers being the ruck rover. He's really tall. Half forward line, Stringer. He's not going to come back. He had ankle problems, and then I think he broke his hand just smashing it into the bench. So on purpose, so he might not come back. But Bagley, he's been a revelation up forward this year. Kicked, I think, 13 goals this season, which is really good considering he only kicked about 3 goals before this season. Kelsey Parrish, don't know why he started half forward last game. I think he'll go back to the interchange and start in the midfield when he comes on. Jonathan, Woody, Brown, and Fantasia will start at full forward, and then the interchange will be made up of Langford, Smith, Francis, and Parrish. Now, I don't think Collie will come back for another game, and Stringer might not be back, but that's the team lineup. So, running through it again, we've got fullback, the back line, Hooker, Goddard, Sard, Hurley, McKenna, and maybe Bagley if he goes back to the back line, maybe McGrath, I don't know. Midfield and ruck first, Bell Chambers, Myers, and Zaharakis. Midfield will probably be Merritt, Heppel, and Langford, I think. Smith's on the interchange bench along with Francis and I don't know where Gleason has been all this time. They said he'd be back around 12, but anyway. Half forward and forward. Stringer, if he's back, he'll be playing in half forward. Parrish starting on the interchange bench. Jonathan, Woody, Brown, Fantasia, and Smith were starting on the forward line. Apart from that, I have no further comments on the team lineup. But Smith, half forward. It's like the most beautiful thing you'll ever see. Smith playing at half forward for Essendon. Now, that's all I've got time for today, apart from my prediction of who wins and the margin. My prediction is Essendon winning by 28 points. If they're going to make the finals, they need to have a huge win. 28 points, not the biggest win, but it'll be a start. I think Essendon, again, will win by 28 points in a good game, and leading goal kicker for Essendon will be Fantasia with 3 goals. So then, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for staying on my channel. Thanks for staying loyal. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye. Go Bombers.